This is the 2026 RAV4 GR Sport. That's right, GR as in Gazoo Racing, but not a full GR model, just the GR Sport model. What does that mean? It means more power than every other RAV4 out on the road, unless it shares the same powertrain. It means a look that cannot be mistaken for any of those other models, and a personality that honestly, I didn't expect a RAV4 to have. Up front, this thing is loud and proud, or quiet and bold, whatever you want to call it. This is a statement piece because this is the largest opening you'll find throughout any of the RAV4s by a significant margin. But I'll give you a little hint. Within this mesh grille, it's not actually all open because there's no more cooling than needed, and extra cooling or extra cooling intake just adds drag, and we don't need any more drag in this car if we can avoid it. The gloss black does a really good job not just of hiding things like the parking sensors, but also offsetting some of the overall size of the vehicle. So having a black roof like we do and black accents really makes it feel a little bit smaller than maybe it is, but it also goes really well with the GR badging, which of course we find there on the grille. It's sort of a big day to see GR on a RAV4. The question is, does it hold up? If you put this car in profile and blacked the whole thing out, there are a number of brands I would guess that it was, but Toyota wouldn't be one of them. And a lot of that has to do with this spoiler. This is a fantastic look that they say is optional on this model, but I think should be 100% standard. And if you compare it to some of the other trims, especially something like the Woodland, this is going to end up sitting, well, quite a bit lower. Two reasons. Number one, we're not going to find any roof rack up here up top. It's all going for sleek and sexy, and I think it's done a good job. It also sits a little bit lower. 8.1 inches is what you should expect from a standard RAV4. In this case, we're down to 7.5. That's not an enormous drop, but percentage-wise, that's actually quite low. You'll still be able to clear every speed bump you have in your neighborhood or any of those taller curbs, but this is all about handling performance. The whole goal here, lower that center of gravity and make this a little bit more fun to drive. It doesn't hurt that it also has these shiny black accents, the piano black all the way through. Paired up with the red and with the black roof, this thing starts to look pretty slick. The wheel and tire department here is a little bit surprising, not just because it's a 20-inch wheel, you can get those on a couple other RAV4 models, but because they went with a completely different wheel design. This is lighter weight, it's going to have less sprung mass, and it's really actually going to have some impact on handling. The more important impact though is going to be the tire selection. This is not what you get on those other models. This is a much stickier tire compound, which does end up hurting the fuel economy, but that's not the reason you went ahead and got this. I already mentioned it sits about 15 millimeters lower and about 20 millimeters wider, but that's 10 offset on each side. So it does have a little bit wider track than you'll find, which again is going to be great for handling. And by the way, this looks absolutely fantastic, especially since we have a little bit of red there on the inside. We're not looking at a totally different brake caliper, but it does have a different look. Around back, this is for sure going to be the raciest looking of the bunch, not just for this spoiler, but also because of the rear bumper. It sticks out actually a little bit farther than you get in the other trims, which makes this a little bit longer, but we're talking about an inch, inch and a half overall, and I love the way it looks. Not necessarily an impact in aerodynamics, but aerodynamic looking, and that's always cool. And this whole persona goes really well with these striped taillights you get here. These LED lights are as standard, and as you can see over there, red turn signal, which, especially with this red, looks very good, even though I know a lot of folks prefer their amber. But if you wanted a really fast car, there are a lot of other options. The reason you're looking at a RAV4 is because you probably need some practicality, and don't worry, this GR Sport has not lost any of it. The only downside is that it only comes in a plug-in hybrid, which means it has a little bit less space in the back than you'll find in some of the hybrid models. But as you can see here, I've got 2 carry-on bags and a world of space around them. This will get you about 33.6 cubic feet of storage capacity, and that's with the seats folded up. If you fold those down, we're looking at just about 63.5, which means if I needed to sleep in here, I could, but not necessarily preferred. And under this nicely branded GR RAV4 floor mat, you'll find a lot of GRs around here. You'll also find a spare tire. That's right, a plug-in hybrid with a spare tire, a performance-oriented vehicle with a full-size, well, not full-size, but this is hardly what I would call a full donut. This is a mid-size spare tire. So yes, you can't take it to the track, but it should be able to get you home. And at the end of the day, that's what's important. If you're going to put the GR badge even near a vehicle, it has to be able to hold up. So there was only one powertrain option that you could at all put in this, at least one that currently exists within the RAV4, and that's the plug-in hybrid. 324 horsepower and about 48 miles of EV driving range. That means that if you want to go ahead and put pedal to the metal, this is the quickest way to do it. But Also, if you don't want to do that every day, it's also going to be one of the most economical. And when your battery is completely depleted, you can go ahead and still expect to get about 37 miles per gallon, which in any vehicle that has performance in its name, which this doesn't, but that's kind of what they're going for here, that is a fantastic return. Plus, it means you don't actually have to change anything you have at home. This will come with a 2-level charge cord, so you can go ahead and plug it into basically the upgraded 220 volt outlet, or you can just plug it into a regular 110. And that means that your daily commute should be charged up overnight, and then you just unplug and drive away in the morning. And of course, if you run out of charge, then obviously there's still a gas tank and off you go. If you do have charging at home for another vehicle, or you want to charge this faster, don't go ahead and get the fastest charging capable, because this is only going to do 7 kilowatts of level 2 charging. No DC available. You'll find that in some other RAV4 models, but not this one. And for planning purposes, your charging port is going to be here on the front passenger side. Now let's get this out on the road, and the first thing you want to do in anything with a GR is punch it. And when you do, it doesn't take long for there to be lots of power available. 0 to 60 in this came in at 5.7 seconds. All of this is preliminary testing, and each of these road surfaces is a little bit different than what we have at home, but still, 5.7 is moving. It is a little bit quicker than we got on the all-wheel drive plug-in hybrid models that we tested earlier, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that this has some stickier tires. And the reason you get stickier tires is so you can go into corners faster, right? That's the whole idea. Plus, everything else that this is built around is about handling. Lower, wider, and it all comes together. Is this a brand new RAV4? No, it certainly isn't. But does it feel different? Absolutely. The steering is tuned sharper. The suspension is going to be a little bit harsher, but to me, that's exactly what I'm looking for. It's going to give me better traction on the road, better feeling of what happens beneath me. This is exactly what it says it is, a GR Sport. Designed for fun, not designed for the racetrack. But if you're looking for a more interesting drive to and from work, this is going to be a great option. One of the first things I think about is, what would I get besides this? Because if you look at mainstream competitors, something like a CR-V or a Mazda CX-5, that has a turbo, but it's not the same feel to it. And none of them are plug-in options, which means not only do they not have the same power and the same low-end torque, but they're not going to have the same sort of fuel economy. They're going to take a hit on fuel economy for that extra power, and in this way, you almost get a boost. So in some sort of way, this is the responsible hooning around. This is, hey, I've got both worlds. But normally that technology ends up coming at a bit of a cost. But so far, this experience has been different enough that I think it might be worth it. But we are 100% going to be leaning into territory of some performance luxury brands. Again, you don't get a lot of mainstream luxury compact vehicles, and the luxury vehicles will have something this doesn't. Let me talk about this interior briefly, because we do have the larger screen. It's going to be a 12.9-inch screen for your infotainment and a 12.3 for your driver display. Plenty of screen real estate. The seats are different, not just in their overall design. We do get a GR logo back here and that red stitching. We also get a cool animation when the car turns on that says, hey, you're in the GR model, and I love it. But those are going to feel a little bit nicer, and they're certainly going to be a little bit quieter on the inside. But inevitably, you're going to run into that same issue. Price, resale value, maintenance, and that's something that Toyota has been historically fantastic about. But we've never seen something like this. There's a big question mark here. Trust me, I have a lot of questions about it, but I'm more curious and more excited about driving it, and honestly, I just want to spend more time behind the wheel, but unfortunately, at some point, the day has to come to an end. So there's a lot to differentiate this from the other RAV4s out there, but what's it going to cost you? Well, considering this is a plug-in and the current most expensive plug-in version of the RAV4 starts just about $50,000, I would not be surprised in the slightest to see this $55,000 or above. Not necessarily 60 or 65. If that's the case, I may have to reconsider this entire review, but I suspect this is going to be at a premium, but still understandable, especially if you're looking at what competes against this, and I really don't have an answer for you. What other crossover has 324 horsepower and this kind of fuel economy? Sure, there are hybrids out there, and there are some more performance models, but you usually have to pay a lot more for a higher performance model, and 0 to 60 under 6 seconds with 5 people and room for their stuff seems like quite a bargain. So I'm surprised somewhat that GR made it here, but I think this is held up. I'm not upset about it. If it was called a full GR model, then I might have some feelings, but understanding GR Sport is sort of a middle ground segue. One of the things I like about performance vehicles is how they handle, not necessarily about how fast they are, and this has gone that direction. It is all about the driving experience, not how quick can you get off the line, but Trust me, this is plenty quick. For that kind of money, what would you shop against this? There are a few cars I have in mind, but trust me, that range is pretty wide. So I'd love to hear what you think down in the comment section below. If there's something that's missing here, let Toyota know by leaving that comment. And if there's something we missed, we should get this home sooner than later, and we'll be able to do a much deeper dive on what this is, what it isn't, and why maybe it should be in your garage, or passing over it was the right decision for you. Thank you so much for watching. You'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, find our podcast out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.